Hey guys, today I'm gonna be talking about the collaboration of Kenchi Show and Luca and Alberto in the Halloween special. So yeah, so we're gonna break down each segment. So as you remember, there are four segments, and then they're gonna be pretty spooky segments because it's Halloween. Uh, so I'm gonna talk about the first segment, and then the clay figure me will talk about the second segment, and then Luca's gonna talk about the third segment, and Alberto's gonna talk about the last one. So, also, we're gonna tell you like a little bit of fun facts about them. But at the same time, avoid spoiling. So, first segment, it's so four segments. Half of it is Luca and Alberto themed, and two of them are gonna be Kenji Show themed. So the first segment is a Luca and Alberto themed segment. So before I tell you what the segment is, I have to give you a little backstory because the segment actually has a pretty neat backstory. So back when I was in the fourth grade, I had this little project with some of my classmates. I had to make this spooky story. Yeah, out of we had to make like a little presentation about it. So then we decided to choose like a horror story, and for some reason, we called it the freak scene. But it had nothing to do with the plot. Yeah, it was a little weird. So I'm gonna change the title for the segment. Actually, Ducky and Bunny, told this story already, back in 2021 summer. Yeah. So it's gonna be based on that. Also, the segment will be like a little different from just the original story that we created. Because the story of the original one feels a little generic. So, in case you don't know, so there's this boy named Oliver. He came home when he was coming home from school. He met this man in a spooky house, and then the man abducted him, but then released him after he solved the riddle. But then he realized that his mom got captured as well. Oliver realized his mom got captured as well, so he went with his friend John, and then they go to save his mom. And then the next part gives some Wizard of Oz vibes when Oliver melted the evil man with a bucket of water. Yeah, Wicked Witch of the West vibe. And yeah, that's basically about it. See, it's a pretty generic story. Yeah, you heard that story multiple times before, so I'm gonna kind of adapt it. I'm still working on the adaptation part, but yeah, it's gonna be pretty good. A lot better than the original one, with a more sensical title. Now, I'm about to turn to a clay figure to discuss the next segment. Alright, I'm a clay figure now, and I am ready to talk about the second segment of the special. Now, the second segment is pretty cool because remember that canceled special called Pumpkins of Halloween, which I'm still making into a book? Well, the protagonist of the story is Choi as a mummy, and the mummy character from Pumpkins of Halloween. By the way, that mummy's name is Malik. Yeah, Malik the mummy and Choi as a mummy. So now, this thing is, Malik the mummy's kind of like joining an organization in Egypt where mummies have to clean up the pyramids, the inside of the pyramids, and then they all come in pairs. And he got partnered up with Choi, and he kind of doubted Choi because he's tiny. But then later, as Choi showed off how cool he can be at sweeping the pyramid floors, he finally came to support him. Yeah, pretty cool story, So Yeah, I kind of wanted like a little bit of actual Halloween monsters, and I chose a mummy. And then, since Choi is gonna be dressing up as a mummy in the Pumpkins of Halloween book, yeah. Actually, Choi is not really gonna dress up a mummy in real life. He's gonna dress up as this character from Dumb Ways to Die. Alright, now, Luca, talk about the third segment. Oh man, this is gonna be interesting. Alright, now, the third segment is very interesting because it's a little take on the Jillian and Addie. It's a little take on one of Kenchi's favorite Jillian and Addie trilogies, Haunted Puppets. So now, the thing about this is, it's like a little Kenchi show retelling of the backstory of the horror. So, if you haven't seen Jillian and Addie before, if you haven't watched Jillian and Addie yet, then spoiler warning. So, Haunted Puppets about Jillian and Addie. They kept getting hypnotized by these puppets Addie found in the railroad, in an abandoned railroad, and then later on they would learn that the puppets were like imprisoning the souls of a puppeteer and his daughter, a witch and a magician. So the puppeteer like hired this magician because to like trap a witch's soul into a puppet, because the witch is about to make his daughter an apprentice. By the way, the puppeteer will be played by Mickey Mouse. The daughter is gonna be played by Peppa Pig. Pete is the magician, and the witch is a regular witch. It is very interesting. So the story is like, yeah, he has to trap the soul in the puppet, but then the magician duped him and trapped his soul in a puppet as well, and his daughter too. And then later on, they were gonna be found, and then the puppeteer and his daughter move on to their final rest, and then the witch and the magician were defeated. So, yeah, it's a little take on that backstory. Not really on Haunted Puppets, the story of Jillian and Addie, but more of the story of the actual puppets. Now, Alberto. So now, the last segment is the Luca and Alberto theme segment. Yeah, the first and last are our theme. So, it's a little take on the story, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, which many of us probably know. So I don't really have to explain the story because it's a very famous tale. So, Luca is gonna play the, like, Ichabod Crane, and he'll be called Lucabod Crane. We're gonna add a little Luca touch to the Sleepy Hollow story. So yeah, it's following the same plot, but then there's also this part where Luca's trying to hide his identity as a sea monster from Julia, who's playing Katrina Von Tassel. But then the Headless Horseman finds him and then chucks the pumpkin at him, and then the pumpkin had water inside, and you probably guess what happened. Yeah, it's a little different from the original story. It's like a less dark, because if you remember, Sleepy Hollow didn't quite have a happy ending, but this one will. So find out.